YouTube, welcome back to another video. Tonight, it is nighttime, is a very quick and dirty review of the Wessex F contrabass trombone. You can tell it's dirty because I'm coming off a long day at Disneyland and I have a bunch coming up soon and I have to give this horn back in the middle of that. So I thought I would just make this video now while I have a little bit of time and face left. So first thing first, before we talk about anything, let's give this a sound comparison between this and the contrabass that I own, which is quite different. Now to my instrument, I'm not really comparing these directly because you won't be able to find another instrument like mine. That's not really fair to the viewer, but it gives you an idea of what a professional instrument from Germany might sound like compared to the top tier Chinese instrument as available right now. And of course this is not available right now. All right, here's hoping I don't mess up the tuning. I didn't. Yay! So there's a sound comparison between the two. I have a clear favorite in my mind, but I have no idea how that comes across on the poor iPad microphone, which is going, what? Contrabass trombone? All right, now let's talk about, real quick, this Wessex contrabass trombone. And of course, I have to switch rims because I have two mouthpieces and one rim. But I have to switch between these two instruments. I'm sorry about that. This is my friend's. He just bought it new. He's had it for like a week. And it's very shiny. And it is basically the only option for a contrabass trombone in F in its price range. In the kind of like $1,000 to $2,000 price range. And I'm sure there's more that are a little more expensive than that now. You can get the fake tine from China. It's got the fake Hagman valves. I think they usually have yellow bells. I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say about them, except that they're not very good. They're usually playable, but they're not very maintainable long term because they have fake Hagman valves, of course. Hagman valves in the first place are hard to take care of. Now imagine copies of those made in China. You know, China makes some very good stuff, but those, not them. Just not great instruments. I don't think it's a copy of like an especially good instrument in the first place. And then you get to this. This is around $4,000 new. I'm not sure if that includes shipping or not. I haven't actually looked. And then go up and up and up and up and up and up. Once you get to about $9,000, you can buy a new German contrabass trombone. And that's about it. That's the entire market. You got the cheap Chinese contras, which are not good. Don't buy one. You have the $4,000 mediocre China contra, a little bit of a spoiler, and then $5,000 above that, you have the stuff that's kind of worth it. And I'm saying worth it only in the sense that they're good instruments, perhaps not financially worth it. So let's talk about this instrument in particular. It's got a gold bell, which is quite fancy. We've got nickel slide tubes, got a yellow crook. Nickel slide tube is very common on Chinese instruments. I guess nickel is just easier to draw into a slide tube. No clue there. We've got ergonomic hand grip. I don't want to hit this on the ceiling. It's very long. Ergonomic hand grip, which is actually a kind of a downside. We'll talk about that in a bit. Got two valves, which are tunable in either F F, C, D flat, like we have here, which is American tuning, or F, D, B flat, which is German tuning, which is on my Contra. Then we got the very European super long tuning slide, almost a J bend because it's just so big. Starts very early. And of course, the big gold bell. It's actually very similar sized to my instrument, but of course mine is an opera wrap and is doubled over in every regard. And of course mine is in German tuning, which is not the same length. And they actually have about the same size bell, even though it kind of doesn't look like it. Even the throats are semi-similar. Bores are not that similar, I think. I actually don't know what bore size the Wessex is, but it's larger than mine. And it might be just a little bit bigger out here. Anyway, that's the German, oh my god, Wessex contrabass trombone, German, Wessex, two different things. Well, let's talk about the Wessex. Let's talk about the pros and cons here. For $4,000, get a nice case. It's a very large case. It comes up to like here on me. It's a huge case because, of course, this is a massive trombone. I can't even show all of it on screen at the same time. But it's nice to have a nice case. Comes with a mouthpiece. Comes with tunings for two different tunings. For the B flat D tuning, the German tuning, you take this slide out and there's a separate B flat slide. And on this side, you take out this spacer in the middle. Maybe you can see I'm moving the bottom and I'm moving the top. You just take out the spacer and it puts it in D. And it's quite shiny. So you get a lot, I guess, for your money. You get a functional instrument that makes noise. You just heard me make noise on it. Let's talk about the pros and cons, though. So definite pro is that it's better than the crap Chinese contras. In my opinion, the valves are better. They're going to last longer. They're easy to take care of, and they blow about the same. You really don't need Hagmans on a contra. It seems to be kind of generally better built than the average like crap Chinese contra. I'm not seeing a lot of like nasty solder. The fit and finish is actually pretty good. You've got the nice long water key on the end. It is on the bottom of the crook like this instead of at an angle like on most trombones. That's a little bit of a bummer. I see why they did it, I guess, but I'm still not a fan. Again, we have the ergonomic hand grip. A little bit you can see here, which is kind of unnecessary because I don't think you should be playing this without some kind of grip aid. Right now, I'm using a leather strap. In real life, I would use ergobone and I would just sit down. I'm not going to hold this thing up unless I have to. But since it has the ergonomic hand grip, you can't put an ergobone on because that would go right here. And this part right here is actually too skinny unless you shim it and put a bunch of stuff in between. Which you can kind of do, and it kind of holds it up, but it doesn't feel nearly as secure as a normal instrument, or even my German contra from the 1960s, which is very easy to set up with ergobone. So that is a weird like little plus, like ooh, ergonomic hand grip, that ends up being a huge negative if you want to actually use ergobone like I think you should. One of the huge downsides is that you'll notice I have this in American tuning, even though I play German tuning, and this has German tuning available. And that's because the B flat side is fine, just a new slide, it's in tune. But the D side, this side, is too long. If you take out the spacer, which is huge, you know, it's at least 1.5 feet of tubing that you're removing, and you put this in here, it's too sharp. It's not a D. It's halfway between D and D flat, which is not useful because you need that first position D or A. And with this instrument, you don't get it. And if I owned it and I wanted it to be in German tuning, I'd have to take it to a tech and have them lop off a bunch of these tuning slide legs down here, or tuning receiver legs, just to get it up to pitch, which is a huge bummer because Wessex designed this themselves. Parts of it are definitely from previous instruments, tuning slide, bell, probably most of the slide, but the valve wrap and the valves themselves are all Wessex. They did this themselves. And there's no reason they couldn't have designed the D wrap to be in tune, and they just didn't. You know, they kind of like almost got it there, and they're like, oh, all right, good enough, cool, send them out, sell them. which is kind of a huge bummer. It's like, if you're going to spend the time and the money to design a competitive contrabass trombone, then just go all the way and have one that actually works in the tunings that you sell. There's no reason to sell a B-flat tuning slide that's all doubled over and stuff if you can't actually use it. So, big bummer there. I'm pretty sure the friend that actually bought this is going to just use this in American tuning, so it's not a big deal. In American tuning, it's fine. But if you wanted to use German tuning, like moi, you're just out of luck unless you just have it taken someone and cut. And that's not super cool. As to how it plays and sounds, I gotta say, it's not nearly as interesting or as coreful a sound as my German contra. And my contra is kind of weird, and it's not the easiest thing to play on the planet, but it is generally easier and makes way more centered sound than this does. This makes a little more of a wide sound, kind of a modern contra sound, if you want to put it that way. But there's just so much less of the middle, the tunable pitch center than on my instrument. And I gotta say, if you're gonna have a contra and you want to play it with people in real life, you want it to sound like a real instrument and not like kind of an approximation of an instrument. I know that's kind of the shtick that a lot of contra gets, where it's just like, well, it's contra, so it's not going to be that great. At least it's loud. But I'd rather have an instrument that at least approaches a real trombone sound, because it is a real trombone, right? It should be. Intonation is generally better than my German contra. Like I said, that instrument is pretty quirky. There's some weird spots. F in the staff, the fourth partial, is a little low, and then A in the staff, the fifth partial, is very high. So it's kind of the opposite of a typical instrument. Kind of weird to get used to. And yes, on contrabass, you do have to play notes in and above the staff. So you want to have a range that you can kind of get used to and figure out. Those tendencies are the opposite of my horn, so it's very strange. The low range is pretty good. Not super hard to play, not super easy to play. In some ways, it's a little better than my horn. But I still like the sound that mine produces more. So all in all, I have to say, is this worth it to buy if you need a contra? Well, if you need a contra, you're probably getting paid enough that you can just buy a German horn for $9,000, and you have a really, really good instrument forever. If you don't need a contra, if you're over here, then I recommend not buying a contrabass trombone. I have one. I've talked about it a lot, but do I need it? I've actually never been paid to play it. I've played it with friends, I've done trombone choirs, I've played by myself all the time, but I've never been paid to play it in one of the most contra-central places on the planet. I'm not saying I'll never play it, I'm glad I have it, but I still haven't played it. And to spend $4,000 on a big old long trombone that you might never use, I think there are people out there that can make that choice, they can spend the money, but for the average trombone player, I don't know. But if you do have to spend the money, you need a contrabass trombone, you can't find one used, this is still your only option. So despite the drawbacks, despite all the things that I said about it, that's it. That's really the only thing you can buy. So my review almost doesn't even matter. That's pretty much all I got. I wish I could play this for longer. I will be playing duets with my friend. He'll be playing this. I'll be playing mine very soon, and we'll find out who's the winner. That's all I got. See you all next time. Bye-bye.